this is Reaper. She's 5 weeks pregnant, that's why she looks a bit odd shaped. Yeah. Wasn't expecting that, but I don't tend to use belly straps anyway, so yeah, not many adaptations we're going to do other than just not using a belly strap on her. So in front of you, so level 2s, this won't make much sense what you've got on the top. So that is a grooming plan, that's a distinction level grooming plan. So for level 2s, that's what you're going to be expected to do for your exam next year. And how it's laid out and how it's written out is what you're expected to do in 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Yeah.
What do 15 minutes?
Yeah. Oh. So with every level 3 exam, there is a grooming plan that you have to do. And you get 15 minutes for everyone. This year with the Border Terrier, it's the health check that goes along with it as well. So it is a 3-hour exam by the time. So you've got 2.5 hours to do your strip, 15 minutes for your grooming plan, and 15 minutes for your health check sheet. So on your grooming plan, you'll see all the correct terminology. So everything on a Border Terrier should be nice and tight. The only thing that should be left on a Border Terrier are some short split brows and a padded beard. And when I say a padded beard, it is padding, it's not a full beard. It shouldn't be like a Schnauzer or some of the other terriers. They've probably got one of the shortest beards you'll get in the terrier world. It should just be like a little covering over their muzzle, like a little donut. But again, not like Asian fusion, we don't want massive donuts, we just want a little round donut. Any questions on grooming plans?
Do we have to hang on, I can't get the bit of paper, but right where it's all on the back as well?
Yeah, so your front you want to do your key and your colour code, and then on your back you need to write how you're going to do each area, what you're going to do it with. Yeah, so as I say, what you've got given is a distinction level, so study it, use it as your Bible, you know when your hand strip's booked in. Yeah, so in terms of hand stripping tools, oh sorry Squeaky, we do have, should I get them out? Have you knocked them off the table?
Oh yeah, what the thing?
Yeah.
Oh, your keys moved.
So we have a couple of options for grip. So we have our little finger doms. She's really greasy, so I doubt I need anything. I've already got a filthy hand. So these go over your fingers and they help you get grip. The same with the chalk. Chalk, you're going to put in the coat and that will help you get some grip as well. When I do some chalk, I'll get you to feel the difference so that you can see the difference the chalk makes. It's hard to believe what difference just a bit of chalk can make on a coat. I've got my coat king. She's not got too much undercoat, but some of them, especially if they've not been done for a year, will have a lot of soft, fluffy undercoat. So these aren't always ideal for a hand strip, because if you haven't got enough undercoat and then you're trying to rake through the undercoat, you're not going to have anything to strip to. She's got a really thick undercoat, so by removing some undercoat first, that's going to help leave the coat that I want to strip. Whereas if I don't take some of that extra fluff out, it's just going to make me strip. I'm going to have to strip for longer because it's just going to come out in lots of different levels. Whereas when I go through with this, as you can see, it will take out quite a bit of it quite quickly for me. So that's saving time, because 2.5 hours sounds a lot until you're doing your exam. And then you look at the clock and you're suddenly like, oh, and I sit there watching you do your exam thinking, oh my God, they're never going to get the head done.
Can you do the head first?
You can do whatever you like. I do say work methodically because you don't want to forget bits. And I will always say you've got 2.5 hours. So before you come into your exam, look at breaking down the time. Say, right, I want to spend this much time legs, this much time body, this much time head, this much time tail. And work that. So if you get a little bit more time, save a bit of time on the legs, you know you've got a little bit more time on the head. So stick to your timings. Break it down.
Can you do that before you come in, or do you want to have a look at the dog first to decide where is your most areas you want to do? Will it always be like the body longer than?
It's completely up to you. You know how you groom. I mean, the legs usually take a bit longer, even though there's not a lot of hair. They usually get really fidgety. It's usually tighter to pull. So the body's usually not too bad, but legs take a little bit longer. Head doesn't usually take too long because there's not a thick as covering like everywhere else, and it's usually quite easy to pull. So yeah, I would just say break down your timings and just try to stick to it. You could just divide it up and say I'm going to spend equal amount on each time and then move on. That way, however you want to work, there's no right or wrong way. I would just say don't do a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there. Unless you've got a really, really fidgety dog that's not going to stand. In that case, I would just do a bit as they're comfortable. Or I'll tend to, if they sit down, I'll tend to do what I can do while they're sitting to start with, and then stand them up to do the rest. Yeah. So we then got our different stripping knives. So our blue stripping knife is like your body knife. It's got wider teeth. So that's your coarse blade, as we call it. And the red one is what we call the fine blade. The teeth are closer together. They're going to get the shorter coat. So the finer the teeth, it's designed so it can go in closer to the skin. Obviously not on the skin, but closer to the skin and pick up them little bits of hair. What? Yeah. Pick up the shorter bits of hair. So whereas this, you wouldn't be able to get as close to the base of the coat to pull because it's got longer teeth. So the shorter the area, the shorter the pins you want. Oh no, what did we drop? So I've also brought in, I'm not going to use it on this dog because she's very dirty and it's my own tool. So these are diamond knives. So a bit like anyone that came to Spinoni, she had a whole set of them. So this bit is just diamond, so it's designed to give you extra grip without cutting the coat. So it's if they've got a really soft coat that you're worried about cutting. And that's usually more like when it gets to that fine around like their bum and stuff. Not so bad with the terriers, but more like the spaniels or westies and that sort of strip for these. And then you've got the finer detailing one on the other side. So that's the difference between it. And we got our pumice stones as well. So these again can be used like stripping knives. So you can use them to strip. But you can also use them to do what we call carding. So you'll see me use these once we're done. Once you've got all this long guard hair out, if it's still looking a bit fluffy, you can then go over it to try and flatten that coat. Because sometimes it's fluffy but hasn't got anything you can still strip out, especially in dogs that haven't been stripped regularly, because that undercoat gets so thick where it's not being encouraged to come through. So the different colours are just different grippiness. I personally never got on with the white one. I don't find it much good, but some people do. I like the black one, I find it nice and grippy. So we have banded combs. Again, these are more for your silk coats. They might work on, she's not too thick, but if you've got a border terrier that's got a lot of soft hair underneath a lot of the softer coat, you can comb through and that will get some of that out for you. They say more for a silk strip than a wire strip, but it is always an option.
Sorry, is that a banded comb?
Yeah, it's a banded comb. It's a homemade banded comb. It's not posh like your one. Yeah, so we can use that. So to start off with, I am just going to rake her through a bit. As I say, when I rake her through, I'm just going to rake till nothing's really coming out of her, because she's got a really thick undercoat. I've had a look. When you part the coat, if you can't see the skin, you're usually safe to use this. If you part the coat and you can see skin, definitely don't use one of these, because you'll end up with bald spots. It will look good while you're doing this, but the minute you start stripping, you'll end up losing hair. Be careful when you do the tail with this as well, if you're going to do the tail, because you've got the gland on the tail. She hasn't actually got one, which is unusual for a border. So quite a lot of border terriers will have a scent gland here, and it's usually completely bald. A lot of breeds have them, mainly your wire breeds. So if you do have one that's got a little bald spot, just strip around it and then kind of scissor the hair over, so like a comb over really, so that you don't notice the bald spot. Yeah. So as you see, I've removed what I can of her undercoat, which is still left quite a lot on her. So I'm going to start stripping with my blue knife. So as they said, you need to stretch the skin when stripping. As you can see, you're going to stretch the skin, and then your thumb pinches the coat on the opposite side of this. So I'm not going right to the base of the coat, or base of the skin, sorry. And you always pull in the direction the coat is growing. Never twist up, because you'll cut the coat and then you'll end up with lots of short little bits of this hair, which look awful when that's combined with your soft coat and you've got all these little short bits coming out. It's really hard to then get rid of them, especially without making a bald spot in the coat. Because you've cut that hair to the length of the undercoat, then when you try to then get that hair out, you're then removing undercoat, so then that ends up with the moth-eaten look. So when we're stripping, you want to be pinching, pulling. Always keep the skin nice and tight so that you're not pulling the dog with it. As you can see, she's not fussed by it. It's all dead hair that's desperate to come out on this dog. So give a nice tug. When we're doing it, it's all coming from my shoulder. The action isn't coming from my wrist. You need to have your wrist nice and locked. If you're using your wrist, you're going to end up damaging your wrist. And this is why a lot of groomers won't do hand stripping, because they say, one, it's time consuming, which it is, but then if you factor in you don't bath and blow dry, it actually probably works out about the same amount of time depending on the dog. And I lost my train of thought. Got lost. Where was I going?
About your wrist, not moving your wrist.
Yeah, that's the other thing, yeah. Groomers then say it hurts them. And it's because they're using the wrong technique. Either wrong technique, wrong combs, wrong knives. A lot of it, when you get new stripping knives, you need to blunt them. Otherwise, it's going to cut the coat, especially these cheap ones. Cheap ones are good. You don't need fancy stripping knives.
How do you blunt them?
You can run them through sand, or the coconut mats, I think they're called, like the old door mats, the brown ones. Just rub them through, and it don't matter how many times you do that, because you don't need this to be sharp at all. It's to help you grip. It's not to cut. So if you can feel it cutting when you rub your finger on it, which these are still quite sharp, then it's too sharp. Which is why you can use things like this to strip, because you're not needing a blade, you're just needing some grip. So everything on a border terrier should be stripped. Nice and tight, all the body, all the legs. And if you can't strip it, so certain areas like around the bum, sometimes you can't do. If you can't strip it, you're going to scissor it tight like you had to strip it. So you shouldn't be able to tell that you've not been able to strip anywhere. So you can see as I'm going, I'm lifting the coat up, and that's going to show me all the little bits that I still need to strip. And I'm going back in and grabbing them and pulling. So it's a natural step. I'm brushing up, which is then keeping the skin taut, but also exposing the hair that I need to pull. And as as you can see here, this looks like it's quite short, but actually there's a lot of coat in there that needs to be pulled. So, because that's tight, if I can't get it out with this one, I might move on to my red knife. So just because we say this is like the knife, the body, not the body blade as such, if you need to use it on the body because you've got shorter hair, you can use it on there. Just be mindful that you're more likely to take out excess undercoat with this because you're getting into the coat a bit more. So the main thing when you're stripping is to make sure you're getting the hair at the end or halfway down. You don't want to be right on that skin because that's when you run the risk of bald spots. So you want to go right under their belly as well. We shouldn't have any excess hair under here. Obviously she's got a bit extra weight going on because of carrying the pups. And can you see this lovely colour that she's got underneath? If we was to clip this, we wouldn't have this colour. She would go a really dull, dirty colour, kind of like the hair we're pulling out, that root there, all over. And they don't clip well if you try to clip them, they line. Because you're cutting into such soft undercoat, you can never get a nice clip on them. Anyone had to clip a border terrier? No, you would be lucky then. Because they just look, there's just nothing you can do to make them look like a stripped dog.
What do you clip them on? Just blade?
Depends
attachment.
Depends what the owner is. If given a choice, I'd do a free comb to try not to cut into that soft undercoat and to try leave it a little bit more longer but short. Because yeah, once you cut into that soft undercoat, you then it just lines. Then you need to reverse to try and get rid of the lines. So as you can see, I'm pulling quite tough as well, because you need to have a little bit of force behind it. It is loose hair, but it still needs a bit of encouragement to come out. So if you get to pick your dog for your exam, don't always assume that the shortest looking one is the easiest. Actually, these short hairs are actually a little bit more difficult than these long hairs. I'd much rather have a dog that's this length all over than a dog that's this length all over, because it's so hard to get in and get a grip without taking the undercoat out. So she's been done, I think she's been every time we've used them for exams, because they only come in once a year. So her belly does strip. For your exam, feet, the pads, hygiene area have already been done. So you don't need to write about that in your grooming plan. Always be mindful as well of being marked on your handling skills as well as your grooming skills. So how you use your grooming restraints. So although you want the dog to stand up, I don't want anybody using a belly strap for their whole groom. And that's regardless of what you're doing. You shouldn't have to use a belly strap the whole groom. There'll always be points where you don't need to. So for instance, when you're doing the head, the dog don't need to stand up if you're doing the head. And you do have another hand. As you see while I'm grooming, my other hand's always on the dog. And I see so many people just sort of buzzing with one hand. If you've got your hand on the dog, you do tend to find that they're calmer as well, because they know you're there. Also, being up high, dogs aren't used to being on a grooming table for very long. And you think at home, your dog, how often do you get it on a table and expect it to stand and then not be able to get off the other side? So just by having a hand on just tends to make them a little bit more relaxed. So This one gets done once a year, so it's never going to be the most well behaved. Be alright. Plus she's pregnant as well, so we've got to allow her a little bit for being pregnant. So I do tend to work the body first. I just like to get the body done because then I can then see the legs and have an overall look of her. But as you can see, I'm lifting her head up, which she doesn't mind too much, but it's stretching that skin on her neck so that I'm not pinching. So this is really soft hair, but it's quite hard to pull. So I'm going to add some chalk in. So I don't know if people want to come and have a feel before. Yeah, so you can see most of them that you'll strip down to your waist like that. She's actually already got the second one of the light coming through, which you feel real soft, kind of in relation to it should be done every sort of 6 to 8 weeks like a normal dog. But breeders say twice a year usually. Twice a year is kind of like the minimum. They should be groomed the same as any other dog. To keep on top of it so that they haven't got such big dogs. It's really like that turns around and she's just like
Yeah, anybody's got any food? Or is it just a touch?
Some eating.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm going to then pop the chalk on. And you just want to rub it in. Try not to use excessive chalk, but these dogs are so dirty it won't matter if they get home a little bit white. But we do have to take after pictures, so if they're completely clouded up. So if you want to come and have a feel now, you can feel the coarseness in there now. So you feel the difference? Yeah. You feel that texture change. That's going to help you pull. Yeah, rub it in. And I liken it like when you go to play snooker or pool, you've got to do the pool cue to get some grip, and that's exactly like what we're doing. Washing me, I want to do it.
You watch that?
Yeah.
So, I'm too scared.
Nothing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was when he was doing the dragons, the bits that were hanging out, and
Just
they
his
were all
own
hurt.
watch it. But I see that film full. Oh, did you? I just see the
Weird noise.
But it's all right, I made it. So I got my voice, so because I knew he was a cat, it's still like, I forgot. It's just like, this is the thing, I'm just like, why would you like? But yeah,
I've been there today, I want to have a look.
So the other thing some people do buy, because they don't like the finger DOMs, they buy the plastic thimbles that you can sew with and put them over their fingers. I personally find them a bit too bulky, but some people really like them, because the finger DOMs, you do tend to break them. So you'll go for a few, but that's not an issue because we do have loads usually. Have we got them on order? The famous. So I do tend to do everything that I know the dog don't mind first. Just get that bit out of the way quickly while I can. Because, as I say, when you then get to the legs, well, that's a bit. Dogs in general don't tend to like their legs being faffed around with anyway. And that's just something we all know that we're going to have with dogs. But as you see, when she's moving around, I'm just moving around with her, still doing what I want to do. But she's got the freedom to move around. And that's where I say, be methodical where you can, but also you've got to adapt to the dog as well. So I'm still doing the same area, just if she goes to the other side, I just strip the other side a little bit. It's a hard life. So you will always have a good side and a bad side, just like you do when you're clipping. Just because obviously depending, unless you're ambidextrous, one side's always going to be easier than the other. Just finding the angles.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah, I was going to say, it's
It's
like we've
weird.
fallen into a trance.
Yeah.
It's
It's
ASMR,
quite
isn't it?
meditative.
It's making me feel better. It's like an itch.
Yeah.
I really love hand stripping. I mean, was it you, Lucy, that was telling me the other day about someone that was travelling miles for a hand strip?
Oh, she lives in Overy, but she's going just the other 45 minutes she travels every 6 weeks to have her 2 border terriers done.
So in this, at the moment, there are a lot of dog groomers, so having something you can specialise in, or especially if you, I mean, a lot of groomers don't like hand strips. Some students will do their exam and say never again. But if you do happen to like it, it's a real need. People drive miles for something like a hand strip because a lot of groomers won't do it. So I really liked it. When we were in a busy parlour and you get dog after dog after dog, having a hand strip where you could just kind of lower the table, sit down, and while you do the back and chill a little bit, is really nice compared to like the normal rush in the bath clip. Yeah, so I used to really enjoy it. I used to compete in hand stripping. Did buy my Westie to compete again, but I haven't got round to it. Maybe one day. I don't know. So yeah, especially we have a lot of groomers will say they'll hand strip as well, and then they'll clip. So don't be offended if you get somebody really question you whether you're going to strip or not, because so many people have been scarred. We've got one here that we thought we were shut over the summer. She went somewhere else. They told her that they'd strip her. She picked it up and they just clipped it. Said it was too cruel to strip. And she had a beautiful coat. She was a Patterdale, and they have a really nice naturally stripped coat. And yeah, they just clipped it and give it back to her. And so we've been working for quite a few years now to get her coat back. it's slowly coming back. So some of you might have done her, the little fipping, pat her down. She's the only nice pat down we have. Yeah, and it's taken a long time to get her coat back. Luckily her owner's been really understanding, because to get a coat back you usually end up going home with bald spots, because you just have to keep stripping it until the new coat comes through and starts cycling again. So she's gone home with lots of bald spots. The owner's been really persistent with it, and we can now pretty much strip her all over again. It's still not as good as it used to be, but hopefully within time it will come back.
So that dog's due to have puppies.
Yeah.
How does it affect the coat once the dog's had puppies?
Once it's had puppies,
Yeah.
the coat will usually blow,
Right.
because all the goodness goes into the puppies, so most of it will die.
Yeah.
Because we've stripped her now, chances of it going that far are less, because we've taken it out, all the dead hair from the roots, so the hair is now in the process of regrowing rather than just being dead in the coat. So yeah, hopefully.
So it's actually a really good idea to strip a dog while it's pregnant.
Yeah, because then by the time she's had them, it would be at a good stage. Especially she's 5 weeks, so it's a good time. Because obviously their gestation is around 9 weeks, so
yeah.
She's at a good point where it's not too stressful for her, and there's no risk to the puppies at this point, because they've already got heartbeats, so they're already formed babies in there. So
do they lose their hair? Like, are they prone to losing their hair after having pups? Like,
they can do, yeah, just like any other breed, really.
Yeah.
Depends how much they put into their puppies. Terriers are a little bit more hardy and don't give so much monkeys about their babies, so they do tend to bounce quite well.
yeah.
But yeah, it's the same with every breed, really. If they pick, or if they have a big litter, they're going to lose a lot more coat. Because usually you can't supplement them enough that it goes into their coat.
Yeah.
So you can start to see a transformation coming. I'm going to do some carding on the coat in a bit, but I just want to get the bulk of her hair out before I start carding. So when you strip the leg, the whole leg needs to come out. So this is the bit they don't usually like. So if she wants to sit down, I'll do what she can while she's sat down. And it's the same technique you're using all over the body. So the dogs for your exam are going to be dirty. Don't expect them to be clean. Unless they poo in the cage and tread in it. That's the only time you might have a clean foot maybe, but the rest of the time you're going to be stripping dirty. This lady is a vet nurse, so she understands that we don't bath a hand strip dog. So as I was saying before, I've gone onto the legs and she started to go a bit more like, oh no, I don't want you to do that. But that's why I say, although the legs look like they got less on them, there is actually more hair in there. So you probably cut, there's lots of little fine hairs that need to come out. So, and they're much harder to get than that long coat.
It's hard to say, yeah.
So I will strip all over the stifle, anything that comes round. So So I'm going to pull this round from the inside leg. So that where you've got the leg, I'm going to pull that round and strip that as well. Because if you then scissor or clip it, it does look a bit odd. Because what we don't want is a really straight line here, which is what you'd get if you scissored it. So I always try to strip as much out as I can. Because the whole point of these dogs is to look natural. Stop spinning with me. So we want them to be neat but natural. They shouldn't have loads of straight lines on them. I'm going to go all the way over their hocks and all over their foot. But I don't want to strip too much around the toes. I want to strip enough off that it's not noticeable, because I'm going to do that with my scissors. Because if you strip too much, you'll end up with like a poodle foot. And we don't want to see in between the toes. We want more of a padded look. So though it might not look like it, but while I'm stripping, I am looking back to have a look at my overall strip to see where I need to go back. So really important to always step back and have a look at your dog. Because at different angles, different lights, you're going to see different things. It's always the worst when you put the dog on the floor and then you see everything is missed. And that's because the dog's moving a bit differently as well. And that's why it's good not to have a belly strap on, because the dog is moving, so while she's moving, that's going to move any hair that might be tucked away under a belly strap, or if she wasn't moving, it would just keep it in place if I didn't let her move. If you have any questions while I'm stripping, please do ask.
What age do you start stripping dogs?
Me, I strip on the way home from picking them up. My husband hates it because he's like, "Can't you let him be a puppy for a minute?" No. Yep. My wire dash hound's literally on the way home, stripping her out. It was a very long, hard journey. I had her fully stripped out by the time I went home. For my schnauzer, he was stripped in a day of having him. I let him be scruffy for a little bit. The border terrier puppy I haven't stripped yet, just because I plan to bring her today, but forgot that. So that you could see how the coat develops. So I will bring her in on your day so you can see what a coat at 12 weeks old looks like. And it needs to be stripped at the moment, because when they've got a nice little bit of dusting, that's when you want to take it off. And then you should keep on top of it, really, keep pulling it. So you'll get the nicest coat then. And also then they'll get used to it. Oh no. There is always around the knickers they don't like. It is tougher as well. So I always make sure I've got all the hair that looks like to be stripped out. So when I lift it up, there is none of them little fine. There's still too much hair there, but I'll scissor that in with my fingers. I've pulled all the hair. Because the thing is, if you're scissoring hair that wants to be stripped out rather than scissored out, you're going to notice, because it's going to look different when you scissor it. Whereas if I'm scissoring hair that is stripped and there's no, because it's all that one nice stripped hair, one colour, that's going to be one colour when you scissor it. It's going to be the right colour. Whereas if you're stripping non-hair that you haven't stripped within there, it's going to have dull bits within it. So always strip as much as you can. Give me that chip. And so, for the tail as well, I'm going to use the red knife on her because she's got quite short hair. And I am going all over. I've obviously checked that brand earlier. If she didn't, I'd strip around it and then use my filling scissors. All of it should be stripped, it should be a nice padded tail. So if you were clipping this dog, it'd be clipped on your body blade so that it's all uniform. So everything on this dog should look one length. Again, some dogs don't like their tails being stripped, so I'll try to do it in sections sometimes. A lot of people forget to strip the underneath, and we have a beautiful top and then a rubbish underneath, so make sure you strip the whole tail. Did anyone before grooming think that hand stripping was cruel?
No.
No, that makes a change. Usually some people come with the mindset that stripping is not a very nice process, but as you can see, she's not bothered.
How do they think it's cruel? Like, it don't even look cruel.
No, people do think that we're just pulling the hair out. They don't know the process, that it's dead hair that's wanting to come out. So yeah, a lot of groomers, as I say, the lady that took the Patterdale, groomers actually told her it was called to strip, and that was a dog groomer. So yeah, there's a lot of people that sell it that way, and groomers included in that, unfortunately. So a lot of people with border terriers that go to groomers don't even get the option of having a strip. And owners don't know the difference. The amount of people that have rung me up saying, yeah, my border terrier needs to be clipped. And it's clearly a strip dog, but they still call it a clip, because to them, they don't understand the difference between a clip and a strip. They just know dog comes in long, dog goes out short. They don't understand there's a whole process you can do without using clippers.
I know she did.
Yeah, she is very cute. So this lady breeds them, as you can tell she's pregnant, so she brings us our dogs every year for exams. They have a great life of running around the farm all year until they come to us. So because she's been left for so long, she's not gone down to what mostly you'd see in the parlour. Most of the time you'd see this really red soft undercoat, but she's actually got her next layer of wire growing through. So she hasn't gone right down to her undercoat, which isn't always a bad thing because she's got some natural protection there. This is why we should be stripping them sort of every 6 to 8 weeks to keep that natural coat going, because they should be wiry. And when you strip them down to their undercoat, obviously they're not wiry anymore because they got that soft undercoat. They should always have a layer of top coat, but because owners don't bring them in enough, we're forced to strip them down to their undercoat. So when owners come in, if it's a first time strip, you always want to explain to them, obviously the benefits. Once you've talked your customer into getting a strip, you need to make sure that they're aware that you have no control over what length the dog goes, because this will strip to where it strips to. What you're left with underneath is not your choice, it's the dog. So if the customer is like, yeah, I want it about that long, no, it will only go to the length it's meant to go to. There is no choice. Obviously if they want fluffy ears or a fluffy tail, I'd say no, but no, I'm joking. That's their choice. But if they're trying to be fussy about body length, you need to make it really clear with your customers about expectations. You just get what you're given when it's stripped. So I've stripped pretty much all of our body out now. I've got like the difficult bits left, the legs, the chest. a little bit on this side of the belly because she sat down. But while she's comfortable, I'm going to do a little bit of carding because she's got quite a thick coat still. And you see there's still a lot there. So it doesn't look particularly bad, but I just want to take it out a little bit more so it lays a little bit flatter. So to do that, I'm using, you can actually get proper carding knives, we don't have them here. So I'm using my fine, you could use this comb as well, but I'm using my fine knife. I've got it at an angle so it's laying flat on her body when I comb it through. And I'm just combing it through her body. And you see it's just taking out a little bit of fine fluff. It's not taking out a lot, but just that little bit will help it just sit that little bit nicer. And for your exam as well, by doing a bit of carding, you're going to show that you know some additional techniques, and part of your grading is on technique. So as long as you're doing it correctly, you want to have it at that angle because obviously these are teeth, so you don't want to be combing metal teeth that aren't designed to be brushed through the coat on the skin. You want to have it at that angle so it's just skimming and taking
45 degree.
Yeah, so it should be, as you're combing through, it should lay flat on that dog's body. And then by doing that, that will, if you've got any hairs in your coat that still need to be stripped out, you'll then be able to see them when you flip the coat up. You'll have some fine, like I've got some really fine little hairs here, which you can't see. So if I've got just a few little fine ones, I'll just go over with my finger and thumb and just pull them out. If I've got quite a few there, I might go back over with my stripping knife. So a lot of people I see start off with their finger and thumb. For this dog that's got a massive coat, that's really good if you've got the time, but you do need to remember you've only got 2.5 hours. So you want to get in there with your stripping knives and strip as much out as you can first. You can go over with your finger and thumb at the end. So I am just coming over the top of her head while I'm here. She's sat down comfy so I can get it. So from ear to ear, I know this space, I don't need to look, that's coming out. So I don't need to be in front of her to look, it just needs to come out. So quite often carding around the neck, you'll get more hair. These really thick fluffy bits here. You comfy there, isn't So she's probably going to start fidgeting a bit more now because I'm going onto the front legs and the chest. Again, I'm still brushing it up. So also with these really areas with a lot of excess skin, holding it tight will really help you get the hair out. Because by holding it tight, it pulls that hair up, so it makes you be able to grip it a little bit, if not more. Good girl. So again, have you look? Well, you've got 3 others. Let's do this. So front leg, again, I'm going to strip the entirety of the leg, following the way the coat grows. I am stripping over the foot, but not too much, because I want to remove the really dead hair on the top. So when I scissor it, it doesn't look odd, and she doesn't have little booties that I'm then trying to scissor. Good girl. So all your legs need stripping, inside as well. And that's usually where people tend to give up when it comes to stripping the inside of the legs. The dogs don't like it. But these dogs that are coming in have all had it. Once you've scissored an area, it will tend to grow back softer. So if you don't strip it, next time you're not going to be able to strip it either. So if you keep cheating, then slowly what happens is most people don't strip in here, can't because they don't want to spend the extra time. Leave it, then they have to scissor it, then it tends to creep round, and then before you know it, you have to scissor the whole leg because you've just scissored it because you haven't spent the time in the first place. As you see, it didn't take very long, but they just don't like it, so people tend to just be like, oh, no, don't like it. But it's the same with any dogs. How many dogs, when you click their legs, go, okay? They don't. It's the same with these when you're stripping. It's not because it's more uncomfortable, just because they don't like having their legs held. And if you were clipping it, you wouldn't go, oh, no, I'm going to scissor that. It's the same with these. So the legs are movable, you see. I've moved it so I can get this part of the chest. And she has got very big nipples, so you laying down. Yeah. So if you can get them to lay down for their belly, absolutely amazing. I'm going to try and do very quickly, take advantage of it. She's got lovely belly hair because it's never been not stripped, so it comes out really well. So you can see I've still got her restrained. She's in my hand, so you can allow them to lay down.
Has she had puppies before?
I don't know this one. She doesn't look very old, but she might well have. Yeah, pass on that one. She's taking it well. Did she say how many is she carrying, Vicky?
She did not know.
She's a very good scan lady, that lady. Yeah. So while she laid down, I took advantage and stripped some more out her back leg. And that's what I make. As you can see, I've worked methodically most of the way around, but there's some areas that I've worked with her on. But I've still had a pattern that I'm working to. So I will always do my stripping work before I go on to my scissor work. I won't do a bit scissoring, a bit of stripping, because it's all completely different tools you need. So you can see at the moment I've got no scissors, clippers or anything on the table, nothing for her to knock off. I've only got what I need on the table. So you can card the legs as well, like you card the body. This one. Good girl. He's a good girl. Yes, she is.
She just keeps looking at him.
Yeah.
I know. What's going on? She's like, I'm not the daft.
Yeah. Everyone knows. Good girl. I know. You don't know. You can see as well, I'm moving, lowering myself. If you're up here, I couldn't possibly see what I'm having to strip under here. My table can't go up any higher, so I'm getting down. This is where I always say you need to be a contortionist to be a dog walker. The positions you have to get in.
Do you have to put anything in your grooming plan if you've got a pregnant dog? Do you have to put anything in that?
No, I would put in, I would put in, obviously, that you've made allowances. It would be more what I write up,
Yeah.
how you handle, it would be more about how you handle,
Yeah.
in your write up. Because that is a pass merit or distinction just for the handling side of things.
Yeah.
So always look on all your exams, comb your dog through first, because that is the first thing you're marked on, is whether you check whether your dog's suitably prepared. So always give your dog a comb. If you haven't combed your dog through, not so much on the borders, but on your wool mix or your drop coat, if you haven't combed your dog through and then halfway through you're like, oh, I can't clip it, it's got knots, you've sacrificed. You can't then say, because you've gone that far through your exam,
Yeah.
you can't then be like, well, the dog's not prepared, I can't do my exam on that dog. Whereas if you comb it through at the beginning and it's really knotty, shouldn't be, but then obviously you can say and then we can sort it out. But if you start, then it's your fault because you haven't checked the dog. So when it comes to the belly, I do tend to do a little bit here and there because some of it can be a little bit sensitive. So I tend to do a little, she likes it, but sometimes they don't like it so much, it can be a little bit sensitive. So I tend to do a little bit and go off and do somewhere else. I don't know if you want to come up and have a quick look, because this side is what I'm happy with. So you see here you've got no like little, whereas this side you've still got quite a few little sticking out hairs
Yeah.
over her body. any of them really little hairs. There's this side, especially moving on this side, you still got some quite them little wispy fine hairs, yeah. And that's what I'm looking for as I'm brushing up, them little tiny fine hairs. Just keep going, brushing it up, yeah. This side hasn't got any of these like little fine. Whereas this side still, you can brush up, you can see little bits of
Oh, and that, yeah. Like 3 hour nap yesterday, it was beautiful.
So nice black coat, whereas here you can see you've got all the
Lean back against that.
I can't confirm. But I've not trained you in anything else, so
So that's now. Yeah, we've got to do a health check and that, and a strip all back there. Okay, so you've answered the question, thank you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I know nothing. Yeah, for your exams, I'm not going to chuck you something you haven't done.
Oh, thank God.
Because I'll set you up to fail, and I don't want you to fail. It's a waste of my time, waste of your time. So you would have done, well, obviously other than Border Terrier. I say that, yeah. I would love you all to be able to do loads of Border Terriers, but we just don't have them. I've offered our services for free. I've got in touch with all the breeders locally, and other than this breeder, but she will only come once a year for exams. So I would love to say you had enough chances at stripping, but hence why I'm doing the demo for you. So if you do have any questions, I mean, I think most of you in level 3 have done stripping of some form, have you not? Whether it be a Jack Russell or a Schnauzer or something.
Right, I can practice on my dog.
Really, you've got your own, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the hand stripping technique is the same. And as far as stripping goes, these are one of your easiest strips, these and Jack Russells, because everything comes out. So you just got to be happy, strip, make sure you're not stripping right down to the, grabbing right down to the skin, then you won't end up with holes. That's why I quite like these, you don't have to worry about your actual clipping lines.
Very nice.
Anna, you can use all this hair for tomorrow's lesson.
I'll make you some more yeah. Good job you guys for adults, otherwise I might have had some emails on that on Monday, mightn't I?
I went home, I had all that stuff all over my face.
I had to score and stuff.
You see, I took mine home and I left it on the sofa and my partner came and she went, what
Don't say I don't ever give you anything.
the?
Just trying to get a bit comfy.
Is it usually you do it?
Yeah.
Should have done that. I went home and said that's why I was doing it. So I'm just stripping around the head like you would do for your clip. I'm just doing the lines at the moment. It's not usually as difficult to strip the belly out because usually they don't have such big boobs to strip between. So usually you can just strip over the boobs like you would do clip. But she's obviously got
Dolly Parton's, isn't
I would say she's probably got quite a few puppies because she's quite big already, boobage wise.
How long did they carry that?
About 9 weeks.
Is that it?
6 63 days, yeah. Once they get past 30 days, that's when you're safe to groom, because the risk of absorbing has gone by then. Anything before 30 days, you run a risk of the stress making them absorb the puppies. So you can see our underline starting to come in now. Oh, sorry, I caught you grooming. They're just so big.
Get away from my boobies.
Don't think I've ever stripped one with such big boobs.
That's you give a complex.
Most women will be.
She was just tweaking my nipples.
Yeah, there's a new act in that's going through Parliament at the moment.
Oh, yeah. Joke.
Yeah, dog abuse. She's going to be the first claimant.
Yeah.
So when we grade you, we are looking all around the dog, so we're going to be looking at all the different parts. I think I showed some of you the grading criteria of what we marked you for each little individual part. So you really need to make sure you look around your dog, because just to get like the merit, it has to be even. So if you look round and there's a bit on your legs, even if it's just a bit, that then will drop you down to a pass. So just make sure when you're doing all your areas that it is at least even. Might not be short enough, but as long as it's even, you fall into that category. As you can see, as she's standing up, I'm just going over because I've nearly got to the point where I'm done on her body. I'll move on to her head before moving on to her scissor work. So you can see I swip between finger and thumb and knife as well. So any bits, because she's got particularly big boobs, I'm just trying to get the little last hairs. It is very hard with these boobs. Anyone just see a puppy moving then?
Oh.
There's a puppy sat right there. You can see it. Watch it, might see it move. I'm like, get off.
Yeah.
So I do tend to go over my finger and thumb just at the end, And I'm just pulling at her, I'm pinching over her hair where I can see them. You're not going to pull out any excess undercoat with your finger and thumb. She's not had her hygiene or anything done yet, so she's still a bit hairy between her legs, but I will do that.
You said the hygiene will be done when we come to do our exams.
Yeah, it'll be done before you do your exam. Hygiene and pads will be done. So you shouldn't need to pick up a trimmer. And you don't need to write about that on your grooming plan. It's already expected to be done. So when we come to the head, she should have clean ears. They don't grow too long on the ears usually, but make sure you do get all that hair out so you can roll it. You roll the ear, you'll be able to see the line of hair to strip out, and that's a good indication. She hasn't got a lot. And then make sure you strip right around the edge as well, because the closer to the edge you get, the neater the ear. A lot of people don't strip close enough to the edge, and then when they scissor, you end up with like a little ridge where you can see where you've stopped stripping, but it's not right to the end, and then you've scissored. So you end up with a really little bit that just looks awful. So make sure you strip everything off that ear. You can use the red knife. I tend not to so much on ears unless there's a lot. I'll usually do it finger and thumb. The same when you pick the ear up, you want to strip all this on the inside as well, as much as possible. The more you strip with your hand, the more natural your groom's going to look. As I've been saying, you can't scissor it to look the same. So I'm going to do both ears, then I'll go on to the head. So for the head, she hasn't got a lot of furnishing on her. She's a little bit thin around this bit, so we're not going to be able to get a really nice donut going on. Underneath she's got enough, but here is a little bit thin. You'd want a little bit more around this bit of the face. So, like with your schnauzers, you can feel the eye socket, which is squidgy, and then you've got bone. So we're going to strip from the bone back. So they should have short, come around so we can, if you want to move so you can see, so there's the bone. I'm going to strip back to the ear, everything on top of the head, and from the corner of the eye as well. So I'm coming from that corner, there's the bone, and I'm stripping back. They should have short, padded, slick brows. And then imagine a line going across from bone to bone. So there's the bone, I'm going to strip this. There's the corner of her eye, I'm going to strip that. Do watch this little patch here. If it looks a little bit grey, usually it's going to go bald. For some reason, they usually just get a little bit there that isn't very thick. So do just be careful when you strip that very middle bit of their head. Everywhere else is usually fine, just this little bit for some reason. And then from the corner of the eye to the corner of the mouth, I'm going to strip. So try not to hold the beard, because if you hold the beard to control the head, chances are you're going to, and they really pull, they're going to pull a bit of the beard out, and then you're going to be missing beard. So that's the only problem with like these, controlling them. When I hold over the nose, I'm not applying a lot of pressure, so I'm not forcing her mouth shut. If she wanted to open her mouth, she could. That's what stops them freaking out. A lot of people, when they hold over the noses, hold quite tight, and then the dog fidgets even more. That's because they need to breathe still. So from the corner of the mouth to the corner of the mouth should match underneath. So this bit, a lot of people miss, where it connects and changes colour. Can you see how much extra hair is there? Can you see all that? Yeah, but because it tucks round, can you see if I didn't fluff that up?
Yeah.
That doesn't look like it needs stripping, but it does. There's lots of hair there. It just tucks around and sits really tight. And I'm just going to card it out a bit, especially where this hair changes directions, because that's always fit there. And that's why it's really good to get in that habit of brushing that coat back up so you can see all them fine little hairs that need to come out. So, oh, they need a split brow. So this, you can feel directly from their nose. When you put your finger in, you can feel where their eye socket bones start. And that's what we want to be stripping, that middle section there. We need to make sure they're two definite split brows. So corners of the eyes, if they will strip, which some of them will strip, but if they won't, then don't strip it out. Obviously, it's going to hurt the dog. And now I've stripped everything I think is going to strip out. So that, I see in between the I'm just going to clear my table and have a look, another look at her before I then go on to Muss's work. You see, I'm looking from all different angles. Anywhere I think might be a bit thick. I see too many people brushing hair down when they're grooming in general. If you're brushing it down, it needs to come off somewhere. It's the fact that you're brushing it down and trying to manipulate the hair into place is saying that it's not in the right place to start with. And that's with any grooming you do. I see it a lot of time on feet. So just because it's a hand strip dog don't mean you can't do hygiene and pads. You can still do that. I don't know how she's going to be because they come in once a year. So this will be done on your exam that needs doing. And it's just a normal hygiene trim. I'm just going to quickly come out her pads. Yeah, nails will be done as well, so you don't need to worry about that. Good girl. Oh, she's a good girl. So I always like to keep a nice tidy table when especially when I'm scissoring, because then, especially when you do feet, you know what's attached and what's not attached. It's really hard to scissor and get a neat finish when you've got extra hair on your table. So I forgot my scissors, which is really bad of me. But for these, the main tools you're going to use on these are your straights and your thinning scissors. I'm just going to use straights to do her feet, around the bottom of her feet. And so the underneath of the foot is exactly the same as I've taught you to do. So you have everything nice and level to the pad. They should have a nice tight foot. So underneath should all nicely and level. Go down. While I'm here doing them feet as well, I usually sit around the stopper pad if I need to, and this little bit of hair here. Because it's much easier to do this little bit of hair with straight scissors than mess around with thinning scissors, because when you're trying to feel if they're moving, you're at risk of catching that stopper pad. So I'll take the bulk of it up with my straights and I'll soften it up with my thinning scissors later on. Can you see your lady parts now? I found them. Oh yeah.
Like a dolphin down
So I always start with feet. For any haircut, do feet first. Your hair, if you've got scruffy feet, you can't see the overall look. So always get your feet looking right first. So To do a nice tight foot, we're going to do like a cat foot. I'm going to brush it all up. If you can see the excess hairs here, and then you've got this length. Can you see the two different lengths? This coat. So we don't want to go shorter than this. We want to come from the toes up over into that, like we would do for a cat foot. But it's going to be tighter than a cat foot. And again, I'm using my thinning scissors because I want to keep it nice and natural. I don't want to ruin that nice soft look I've given by stripping, by then suddenly adding some harsh lines in there. You shouldn't be able to see in between the toes. You don't want a poodle foot. So I've done the top, and I can just see some little bits around the edge which I'm going to go around with my straight.
Oh my god, my keys keep moving.
Is it your key?
Yeah, I've got a towel that moves. There was a flashlight. In case it lost in the dark.
So part of your scoring as well is scissor control. So we need to make sure you're using your scissors, not bouncing your scissors. And selection of scissors comes into that as well. So you could use curves to go around the foot. I haven't got them, but you wouldn't get marked down if you were to use curves to trim around the edge. I'm going to do on the back exactly the same as I've done on the front. Good girl. So she's actually been a little bit odd. Usually they don't mind the back feet being done and they mind the front feet, but she didn't mind the front feet and minds the back feet. No. Now as you see, while she's trying to pull away, I've just stayed holding her foot so she knows I'm not going to give up. If you keep letting go, because the dog moves, she'll be there forever. Obviously I don't want her to rip her foot off, but I still want to be able to do what I need to do without having to wait for ages. So when doing feet, you always want to be scissoring up. I don't want to be scissoring across the top here. If I scissor across the top like this, that's where I'm going to get a line. And then you're going to have clear knuckle definition, and we don't want that. So you always want to be scissoring up or scissoring down. So the next thing, I always start at the back and work my way forward. So I'm going to start tackling her bum, all this excess hair here. So strip as much as I can, but as you can see, that's not tight. We need it tight. So around the bum hole, I always use my straights because there's no point thinning all of that out. It's going to be there forever. And once I've done that bit, this is what I want to get rid of, this fluff here. So where they've got that hair swirling, that's the length I want it to go to. When she holds her tail up, she should have a nice flat bump. So I'm combing up and then scissoring out to blend that in. You want to get the tail up as well because the hair sits here. You just need to make sure you tighten this bit too. Otherwise it'll be nice and tight here and then you'll have excess hair here. So you can see the difference between the sides. We've got a nice flat bum. Then we've got this excess hair running down the inside because one of the pictures we take is going to be of this angle. So we need to make sure this is nice and neat. So we're just following the shape of her leg. I always hold their lady parts and put it to the side because then you can get in there, pulls the hair out, you can get in there and know you're not going to cut anything. Some people think that's gross. We've got hand wash. You can wash your hands afterwards, you know. And then just keep combing and get rid of any of them little excess hairs. And you see I'm combing, scissoring, combing, scissoring. Your comb is your best friend for any haircut. Going to pop up because that never strips as tight as you want it. So can you see this length here? Just there. That's the length I want her hock. I'm going to come in and match that length. So when I comb up, that hair's all going to be the same length. And you need to make sure you do it on the inside as well. And then the last bit, the back leg, you're going to comb up this. Because even though I've stripped all the hair out, it's still a little bit fluffy. So I'm just going to take off the ends. I'm not taking it right to the skin, just getting rid of them really light little fine fluffy ends. Just to neaten it up. And again, you can see I'm moving my head around so I can see that inside of the leg. That's where a lot of people miss. You'll have a beautiful line coming down here, and then when I sit in from the front, I can see straight through your dog's leg, straight into here. So I'm not going to notice this beautiful line straight away. The first thing I see is what you've missed in there, because usually I'm sat looking through your dog's legs. So Always move around your dog. Front leg, again, the same thing. You can see this line here and what's sticking out. So that's what I want. I want everything to match in that line. I don't want it to curve towards the foot, I want it to go straight down. The same. I'm just going to trim any light hairs that are out. So while I'm there, I'm just doing my underline as much as I can without catching the boob. Sometimes you might have quite a lot on the underline because a lot of the time it doesn't always strip as nicely as hers. Any questions?
How are we going to do it in 2.5 hours? That's what I'm thinking.
You can do it. I've been talking, so it takes a while. So tail, you want the shape that it is really. It should be a nice padded tail. So you need to make sure the underside is nice and flat. You need to make sure the underneath is nice and flat. So hold the dog's tail up and just take off. And then you want to comb it out to the side and just, again, take off any excess hairs. And make sure you get the tip and just go around it. And if you've got too much hair on there, which she's got a little bit too much for my liking, can you see where it thickens out there? That won't strip out. So I'm just going to scissor that so it's the same length.
That's a brush there.
I'm just going to quickly whack this side off so we then get on to the head. So how you see me working is how I would work at home on my own with a dog. When I scissor, I'll always start left and go front, do the tail, then do back to then front. Then I don't forget to do the tail. that little ridge on her chest. I'm just going to scissor that. I've stripped as much as I can, but I'm going to strip that so it's nice and tight. Everything about this dog should be tight but natural. And we're keeping it natural by using the thinning scissors rather than going over the straight scissors. Same with, we can see how much extra hair she's got here. See all this? That little ridge there. I don't want that. I'm just going to take that. Just like her bum, nice and flat.
She feels better having that done. She feels smart.
Looks so much younger.
No, I don't think she's very young. Her teeth are mouth stinks. I reckon she's got some mouldy teeth in there. So just lightly going over any little tiny bits, just to make sure it's all uniform. So head, but we start by doing the ears, because if you don't have some nice tight ears, it's going to throw everything off. So you need to make sure that you scissor nice and tight around the ears. She hasn't got too much to scissor around. So always use your finger and thumb as a guide on the leather so you're not too close to the ear.
Shut that dude's hands up. Somebody needs to shut that dude's hands up.
Is that someone flapping?
Yeah. A pair of scissors and going to cut them off.
Then if I curl the ear round, these just extra little fine bits in here. I'm just going to scissor them out with my straights. Nobody notices them. And there's no point spending the extra time with thinning scissors trying to get them out because you see, they don't like it very much. They just find little bits that need to go. You can put your little tongue out. So now I'm going to take the corners of her eyes out first. Just literally going to put my scissors in that very corner. That's what I say. About holding the beard, you've got to be careful. If I'd held on any more, her beard would have come out. So we're just taking that corner out. We don't want to go over the nose because we'll make her look like she's got a long nose. And they shouldn't have a long nose, they should have a short nose. So it's very important to know your breed standard, because there are some breeds where a long nose is desirable, but this isn't one of them. So when we're clipping, stripping, we're trying to get the dog to look as much to a breed standard as possible. So I'm going to comb her little brows to the side. She should have little triangles, so just a little up here, and then it just comes just above her eyelid. She hasn't got much anyway, which she doesn't need. So it should come in at the corner, should be no overhang. And then just from the corner of the nose, this side of the nose, you're just going to scissor. So for short brows, we go from the opposite corner to the corner of the eye and just scissor what's in that way. So for this one, I'm going to come from this corner of the nose and I'm going right into that corner. So the corner of her eyes should have no overhanging hair, should be smooth. And if you stripped it, that should be quite easy to then chisel this in. I don't need to do anything to split the brow, it's already split. But if you have a dog that it's hard to pull, then you're going to put your thinning scissors down and just take this bit out with your thinning scissors to split the brows. Really important that you give them, split them up. So for her muzzle, she hasn't got much to round up, she's missing some hair, but they shouldn't have much on the bottom lip. So I'm going to go from the lip round to the corner of the mouth. Where's everybody? So can you see how much is hanging at the bottom there? So I'm just going to take it nice and level from the nose, rounded round, level with that jaw. Make sure you get all of it. And then I'm going to comb it out. So usually with a dog with a beard, you wouldn't touch this bit, but because she's a border and we want a nice rounded muzzle, I'm going to comb it up, and then I'm going to round it from my muzzle around. So she should have a nice little donut shape.
So it's like the same process as like doing the donut, but it's just called like a knot head.
Yeah.
Right.
Because this was a hairstyle before the donut muzzles were around. So take it nice and level.
They with thinners, not straight.
Yeah, it's finished. You don't want to do it with straights because you'll get too sharp a line. We don't want sharp lines on this. So make sure you get all of this hair under here. Ideally, she'd want a little bit more hair. Just to fill out. The length is fine. Everywhere else, she's just missing a little bit.
Oh, she looks lovely, doesn't she? What a difference.
And there's her face.
So if you left her a year, she'd come in looking like she did today. That was a year's growth, was
That's
it?
a year's growth.
Wow. So you had quite a challenge then, didn't you? Really?
Yeah, I mean, as far as coats go, not too bad. Not the best coat in the world, but
Yeah, she's really
temperament-wise, she's a good girl.
Really good.
well done. Very nice. What would you charge to do that if you were working on your own?
So, me personally, I'm quite a quick hand stripper. If I was on my own with no interruptions, she'd probably take me the same time as like a cockapoo, and then you're looking at an hour and a half. Because don't forget, you're not going to bath it.
No.
So
they never get a bath then, these dogs?
If it's handstrip, you should
yeah.
24 hours. Did you say?
Yeah, you should wait 24 hours for the pores to shut. Because you can bath them, but if you do bath them, you want to do them in like really diluted hypoallergenic shampoo. She was, if they had time, they were going to bath her before me stripping her today because they're just so dirty. And border terriers are quite a good strip, whereas like your other hand strips, like your Westie and
Show us
stuff
your
like
hands.
yeah,
This other side.
That's not too bad.
it's not too bad for these
No.
actually, to be fair. Yeah, Yeah, so they are more prone to skin infections if you strip them now, because where you've pulled the hair out, the hair follicles are open. And then when you add the water on, you can then trap some shampoo and dirt within that hair follicle, which then can cause an infection. So usually we'd recommend, but some owners don't want to come back and want it there and then, so you just do a really diluted shampoo wash.
So how much, Hannah?
Sorry. Yeah, for a hand strip, you sort of, for the terrier, people expect to pay about £120.
There we go.
Hand stripping only.
We hand stripping everything.
And if you go to America,
All the mustard.
anyone want to relocate, America, because they really struggle with hand stripping, you're looking at like $400 for a hand strip. Yeah, they really struggle with hand strips in the States. Yeah, and when you think people say they don't like it, when you think getting £100 for an hour and a half, even if it was 2 hours, it's £50 an hour still, and I've enjoyed it. I've stood. I've not been fighting with a cockapoo.
I really enjoyed the sound and everything.
I've not had to demat, I've not had to bath, I've not had to blow dry. So when you factor in them different bits,
Yeah, the less noise,
yeah, actually,
Something different.
the hand stripping process is a really nice process if done well.
And the owners are only paying out once a year.
Yeah, yeah,
£120 once a year, as opposed to cockapoo every 6 to 8 weeks at £50.
yeah, exactly.
They're getting their money's worth, really, aren't they? When you
Yeah.
look at it like that.
Exactly.
Looks amazing. She looks lovely. She just needs to go home now and sort out food.
I will just need 365 border terriers.